Hoorah, everybody. Welcome to Tech Talk with Eddie and Ralph. All right, guys. I would like to thank Beltloop 29, KK's Travel and Educational Vlogs. Those are the only two showing up right now, but there was also Marines and Army Mom, YouTube Police, and I got an ad on my channel. I think that's it for now. So, as you can see under the title, and it's going to be viewer's choice. And
it is.
We got four. It says four waiting. We already started. Should I come in with my other? You can if you want, Gary. Hit those thumbs up. We don't care. The thing is me and Ralph actually do this to help y'all. Any kind of technical questions or questions that you have about YouTube, video editing, photos, thumbnails, anything you want to ask, that's what we're here for.
Yep, we want you guys, is like Eddie said, this is more for you guys than it is for us. So we want this to try to let this be a little bit more interactive and have you guys either ask us questions or email us, because I literally just guess what y'all might want to see or whatever. So half the time I don't know if what I'm showing is what you guys want to see. If you don't care, or I don't mean that in a bad way, just that it's not something that you're interested in or whatever. I want it to be something that you guys will pick up on. And it doesn't matter what, excuse me, what you're running as far as hardware. A lot of the stuff that I show have programs for both Mac and Windows. So I don't get into playing that game of what's better, what's worse. So if you're a Mac user, just kind of watch along and then use the software that's for a Mac. So I'm not, just because I'm Windows based doesn't mean that I am not caring about my Mac users too. So it's more for software and just ideas and stuff like that. But again, it's for you guys. And like I said, I pull at straws to figure out what you guys might want to know or not know or whatever. So while we play the intro here, you guys think about that and let us know.
Welcome to Tech Talk with Eddie and Ralph, your live help and solution center for YouTube and related tech. Please come in and enjoy the demonstration. Ask any questions you have about the demonstration or any tech-related question. We are here to help you and do this to help you. No question is dumb, and we will do what we can to keep it simple. Thank you. We will be starting soon.
Welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. We have Nancy, our treasured home, Peace Dragon, Peaceful Diz, and Shirley just doing our best. And DJ's Cartoon Universe come in. Yes, Gary. It said 29. We didn't take that one out. Yeah, y'all can go to Ralph's channel or my channel. It does not matter. We are co-streaming, so you're more than welcome to be in either one. We can read both of them.
Yeah, I don't pay much attention to my channel while we're doing this. I have a bad enough time watching one channel. So if you're on my channel, but we see both chat. So if you're on my channel and you're chatting, we can see both. So
okay, Gary says, I have a friend that has been having trouble adding an emoji to her channel name. She has an Acer computer. Does that affect it?
It shouldn't. Acer is just a brand name. And that would have probably something more to do with YouTube than it would anything else. Acer's been around for a long time. They used to make not the best stuff in the world, but I have an Acer laptop that was my wife's that I've had for 15 years or so. So they make some pretty good stuff. I have actually one of the monitors I have right now is an Acer, and the one that just died on me after 10 years was an Acer too. So they make some pretty good stuff, actually.
Just like to say hello to Lindy Oki. Welcome in. Scott's Life and Radio Jonesy on tour. Thank y'all for coming in. Not sure what Ralph's channel is. Web, you wanna drop your link?
You can drop my link.
Okay, I'll drop your link. Let me find your link. Hold on.
What was that?
All you have to do is type DD, but instead I gotta go find it. So hold on.
I don't have that up.
Yeah.
I've got the chat pulled out so that it's showing up on my screen. So it's like buried under a couple windows here.
I got you.
I got it right here. I found my voice track. Every time I click, it turns on the voice change.
It's @Webs, WEBBS, WEB, Webs, Web. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Every time I right click or something on my mouse, the voice changer turns on. I don't know why it does that. Trucker Jay, what's up? Thanks for coming in.
It's up over here.
Yeah, you are kind of a big deal there, Trucker Jay.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, there is a big YouTube meetup going on down in Savannah, Georgia today. And it actually ends, I think, tomorrow afternoon sometime. So I know there's a lot of people down there. Jerry is down there for that.
Did you meet Jerry?
Tomorrow.
Oh,
I want to meet him tomorrow.
Hey, do a no call, no show.
No, because the place we're going to meet up for lunch is really good, and I don't want to. I don't want to miss that. Going. Gosh, brain fart. Sorry. We're going up to meet up a couple other people too in Talking Rock, Georgia, which is like a little bitty nothing place. It's basically a couple stores and a post office. But
so is the restaurant in Talking Rock?
Yeah. It's not too far out, but
hey, sissy.
And a couple other people are gonna meet up there and meet Jerry and eat some good barbecue and place we're going is called Biggins Barbecue.
Jonesy says, "Hi, Ralph. I'm here to support you." And Shirley says, "Ralph, your background looks like home. Did you go to Rhoda or Guam?" LOL.
Nope, neither one. These are just a bunch of pictures I have. And it's just a slideshow. Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am. And Ralph,
that's me.
I gotta go in the other room real quick. While I'm gone, would you like to tell them, because Lindy Oki and a lot of people may know or not know about the Southern QA website? You want to go over that real quick while I'm in the other room, and I'll be right back.
Sure. This little slide out that you're seeing down at the bottom corner on my screen that just disappeared here. I'll make it come back up. I have a website. I'm an ex-IT guy, so I've done programming, all kinds of computer stuff. That's why we do this stuff. But anyway, I have a website, www.southern-qa.com. And it is basically just a place where I have a bunch of links for stores, YouTube meetups, and stuff like that. Let me see if I can pull it up here real quick. Too many windows open here. And get back over here and share screen. Share screen, share that window. Sorry to be so slow here. And I'm going to put that up. Okay, so this is the main, this is the main page for my website. This is just a bunch of pictures of a cherry tree that's right outside my door here that is in the process of blooming this year. These pictures were actually taken, I think, in 2020. So it's gotten bigger, but it's still as beautiful as ever. And then up here we have store links. So here where I can see what I'm doing here. Now you can also, guys, you can see people that have been to the site before, you can see that I've changed all the backgrounds. I've changed the store background. It's kind of bright. If this is too bright, just let me know and I can turn this down a bit, but I kind of like it. So these are just links to people's stores. Again, if you want to get on here, just send me an email. Doesn't cost anything. I do this for fun and to keep me out of some trouble anyway. This tab here has a calendar of YouTube meetups and events, stuff like that. This is the YouTube live list, and it's just a daily list and times of when people go live. You can jump to certain days, whatever day you're looking at. Top of page, bottom of page, whatever you want to do. Today, Saturday. So there's Saturday. And look, there we are right there. And there's Gary right there. And then I have a new one here, collaborations, which has nothing on it yet. So if you have a collaboration that you'd like to put on here, again, just send me an email. This is just, again, totally free stuff to try to help people out, give people
Cool.
maybe a little bit of a central place where they can go see stuff. There are other sites like this out there. I'm not doing something new and unique here. It's just something I always thought that people would like.
Oh.
And then I have some music here for people to listen to. I got to add some more stuff on here, and then a place that you can email me. If you have a default email client set on your PC, if you click on the mailbox, it'll bring that up. If you don't, you can copy that email address right there and send me an email, and I'll put whatever you want me to on the site. If you have suggestions you'd like to see on the site, send me an email. This site is more for you guys than it is for me.
You can hear me all right, right, Ralph?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I can't click on the mailbox.
I know you can. That's your fault, not mine. But anyway, as I said, this website is for you guys to just kind of be a central place to look for stuff. The live list was my original idea for this, and then kind of the other stuff came about from it.
It's
'Cause
really freaking nice. I love it.
I use, even though I wrote all the program and input all this stuff into it, I still look at the live list every day because I can never remember who's live. Plus, I check the links to make sure the people that I have on here actually have it live. I've got a couple I've got to update, but I want to make sure that they're just not taking a break or something like that. I check it not every day, but every other day or so. I'll go through and see, and then I mark it on a spreadsheet. Go from there. So like on the live list, all of this stuff actually is in an Excel spreadsheet. And then I wrote, you can write Visual Basic code within Excel called VBA, Visual Basic for Applications. So what I did was I wrote code that grabs like the times and these the logo links and the links. It actually writes all the code for me. So I just grab it and plug it into the website and go. Because that would be a lot of typing if I was having to type all this stuff into the code. And I don't know if here, I'll show you a trick here. I don't know if any of you guys know this stuff or not, but if you're in a web page and you hit F12, oh, it's not going to show you. Oh, well, never mind. Okay, when I hit F12, and if you're in a browser window and you hit F12, you'll get a little side window, and then over on the right-hand pane, it'll just, depending on what you have at the top, you see elements and console and sources. So like the sources tab, I wish it would show it here, but it doesn't, is like all the programming, like the HTML, the CSS, actually what is creating the web page. What you're seeing there is just it's another part of the F12 that lets me have a view instead of the full screen. It lets me see what it would almost look like on a cell phone. So if you look at it on your, if you look at this website on your cell phone, it'll be really close to this. Not quite, but almost. Because again, it can't figure out what everybody's cell phone screen size is. Anyway, I did not realize it wouldn't show that whole screen. That's weird. Oh, well. And also, like on the console tab that you can see, if you could see it, if the website took any errors loading, it would tell you the error there. And that's how you, a lot of times, how you troubleshoot a web page if you're having trouble with it. You bring it up in the browser, hit F12, go look at the console tab, and it'll give you an error and tell you what line of code it's in and all that good stuff. Anyway, probably more than you guys wanted to know. But yeah, there's nothing special here. The only thing special here is down on Saturdays where Jesse and the Gillans, they do every other week, every other Saturday. So I actually have some PHP script written that figures out every other Saturday from a start date. But other than that, this is just HTML, which is the code that creates the web page, and CSS, which is cascading style sheets, which is how you apply all the formatting, like all the colors, all the backgrounds, all the fonts, and all that stuff. That is how it works. Anyway, that's the website again. If you have a store, you have an event coming up, you have a collaboration, you have a live you want me to list. If your live is on here and I have it at the wrong time, let me know.
Gary says that he'd say that his live stream is special.
Nobody's live stream is special.
And Shirley agreed with him. And Shirley also
Everybody's
said,
live streaming is as special as everybody else's live stream.
very cool, Ralph.
So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to be scrolling up and down there for you guys.
So, does
Anyway.
anyone? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, if nobody has any questions, if anybody would actually like to see the code, the actual code that creates this website, I could show that to you.
I
Again,
think that would be interesting.
okay, hang on, let me Where am I? What am I doing here? Okay, let me stop that. Bring this over here. And go to a different share.
By the way, I noticed my first live stream of the week hasn't been added. It skipped on me. Oh, there it is.
Let me get
Any idea when that may be added? Not sure what you're talking about, Gary.
to where's this my index. Yeah, I haven't added any lives yet because I just redid everything. And also I mean, you've got a live going on, you're stopping a live and then just starting another live. So I'm not sure if I'm even going to add that one or not. You're just really rolling from one day right into the next with live. So if you just started that live just to be first on my list, that's not a reason to get on the list. Sorry. So anyway, this is the code, the whole code for that first page that had the little robot on it and stuff. It's the whole page. There's nothing below that. So again, it's a super simple, very, very, very simple website. And actually these lines up here at the top, these are comments. So I put the name of the file, my version number, and when I just did that. So these I just updated.
Gary says I have a live stream every Sunday morning as the week begins. It's a different channel though. It's on YouTube, please. It's for watch hours, Ralph.
I'll think about it. My list is not here to be played games with. I'm sorry. I'm not going to let it just be because somebody wants to be first on the list, last on the list, in the middle of the list, at a certain position on the list, or anything else. So we'll figure it out. So what this is the way you just have to set up a web page to start. You got to use the doc, then you got to tell it it's HTML, and this heading is just a bunch of information for the web page to use. Like I was saying, it was using some CSS files, which are just styling sheets. So I'm actually using two of them here. I'm using the Southern QA, which that goes across all the pages on the site. Okay. Since this is the index, I'm using an index CSS that just has stuff for this page. And here's where the part comes in, where I call them cascading style sheets, CSS, cascading style sheets. They literally layer on top of each other. So I'm doing the Southern QA one first, because that's site-wide, that goes for everybody. And then I'm loading the index on top of that. So if I had the same things said, the same settings in both of them, the index would take over from the CSS because that's the second one I'm loading. So they cascade. That's why they call them cascading style sheets. this script right here, that's the little gray nav bar across the top where you click on to go to the different pages. This is actually the text that says, hello, thanks for visiting. This is the picture of the robot. I don't know if you guys can see where I'm highlighting or not.
Yeah.
And then this is a section. If you see div, that's just a div really doesn't do anything. It just creates a section of the page. And then the classes are where I'm actually defining the, in the CSS, I'll show you that in a second, where I'm actually defining the fonts and all that stuff. And that's just a label that says, visit the Cherry Blossom Gallery. And that's the cherry trees. And that's the one on the bottom that says, go to my website. That's the whole page. That whole front page is those, 23 real lines of code, because those top 5 are comments. So that whole front page is nothing but 25 lines of code plus. So the 2 CSS files, this is what a CSS file looks like. So this is Southern QA CSS, because I clicked on it over here. This program I'm working in is called Visual Studio. It's a front end for working in programs. You can write all of this stuff in a text editor. You can write all this stuff in Notepad. It's not going to have all the color codings and stuff. That's what this program helps me with. So like where you see all these colors here in these little blocks, you wouldn't have, if you were doing this in Notepad, just a text editor, you wouldn't have all these little helpers. You would still type the word red in there, but it wouldn't have a little block in there showing you the actual color. So this is the first CSS file I'm loading to Southern QA. And that's just telling it I'm using this font. So the H1, and I'll jump back and forth here a little bit. So H1, anything that has an H1 element, and that's what these little greater than less sign things do. They create elements. That's how you put stuff in HTML, is through elements. So anything that has this tag on it, this H1 tag, is going to look like this. It applies this styling to whatever I tell it is an H1. Okay, so there's different header types, H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and they're basically just different size of large text. Okay, so I use these 3 site-wide, H1, 2, and 3. Now you come down here and you have all these dot things. Okay, what are these? So this is applying it at the element level, whatever I have in between the little brackets there. So now you come down here and you see some dots. So, okay, dot, what does a dot do? These dots work on the nav bar. I'll show you on the index because it makes a little more sense. Okay, same thing. So I have body here, and this is where I set my background. So this is setting it as that blue, 3-color blue gradient that goes across. Font family for paragraphs. These are just different elements. Now you get down here. The dots, okay, the dot robot, the dot CT. Go back over to the actual web page itself. So now you see where I have my element. Okay, so that div for my cherry tree slideshow, that goes in its own little div. And his class is div underscore CTG. So if I go back over here, this dot div underscore CTG. Whenever you put a class, when you put a class in an element, it knows by putting the word class in front of it, it knows to come to the CSS and look for something that starts with that div underscore CTG with a dot in front of it. This is how all this stuff kind of works together. You're basically just creating a style sheet, which is what the SS stands for, style sheet. And then you're referencing each of your elements to go to the style sheet and tell you how it wants to look. That's basically how all of this stuff works. And there's tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff that you can do in CSS. It's This is what I'm doing here is nothing. I mean, this is just really nothing. But each page has its own CSS. So I'll show you what the live list page looks like. This one has a different extension. It has a PHP extension because I said I had to put a script in there to figure out those 2 dates. So the script that's in there is a PHP script. So you have to give it extension of PHP.
Judy May says, Ralph, good evening. And P. Digit says, I'm going to see here, think and nod like I understand, but this is Matrix level to me.
I know. But hey, this is what you guys get when you don't give me questions. So you got nobody to blame but yourself. I know this is kind of this. For a novice user, this is advanced stuff, very advanced stuff. But I'm just kind of showing you what, like whenever you go to a web page, when you go to a YouTube web page, you go to a web page, this is the actual programming and the coding that's behind that web page. And that's why I was saying, if you ever want to look and really see what, and if you think this is confusing, this is nothing. Like I said, if you're in your browser, you're on a web page, hit F12, and then you'll get 2 panes. So in your right-hand pane, look across the top, there'll be a bunch of tabs up there. Go to the sources, and then on the right-hand side, click on the HTML for that page, and it'll show you all the coding for that page right there for that page that you're looking at live. But this is just how I excuse me, how I created these pages. So this is the live list page. So same thing, I'm using the Southern QA style sheet and then the live list style sheet because this is the live list page. This title page, if you look in your if you're on the Southern QA site or any site for that matter, and you look up in the tab at the top where you put out all have your tabs and stuff, this title is what shows up in there. So if you're on the live list page on Southern QA, your Google or whatever browser you're using, your tab will say Southern-QA live list. And then
Hoorah, Simon. Simon says, it's been a long time since I messed with HTML. PJ just says, Ralph, let's start at the beginning. www means question mark. I'm good with a common denominator in moving forward.
www stands for World Wide Web.
See, y'all ask questions, he'll answer.
I won't guarantee you they're right, but I'll give you an answer. Anyway, this is the live list page. So this is just all the stuff at the top. So in HTML, you can actually create like tables. So like what an Excel spreadsheet looks like. And that's done with table rows and table data. So a row is a row, a data is each cell. And that's just exactly what each one of these. So each line, so each person's live in that live list page is, that's where I start the table. So like the very first one is table row, and then the table data within that row.
Simon says it's not we want water, and Shirley said www equals web's web wonders.
You guys, believe me, there's so many people that know so much more about this stuff than I do. So
P Digit says, what's the most powerful symbol?
or what? So that, I mean, that's literally the page. And yeah, this one's kind of long because there's a bunch of different things in it. So if you've looked at the live list, you know on Mondays that these 4 people right here do a co-stream called Digging in the Word with 4 Sisters. So I had to do a little bit of different stuff with theirs so that it looks like, you know, it's one entry. So that's what that one is. And then down here at the very bottom,
Trugger J, I think it's a $.
Yeah, probably. This is, okay, when I was talking about the script to figure out the every other week thing, this is it right here. the whole script. Boom. That's it right there. So I'm just creating a start date, and I started with, I think this was the first Saturday of the month. And then Jesse's is he started on the second Saturday of the month. So that's all that did. Then I created a current date, and I didn't create this code. I grabbed this code off of something I saw online, because I could have figured this out, but working with dates sometimes can be a real pain in the neck. That's one of the nice things that PHP will let you do. There's a lot of different scripting languages that I could have figured this out with, but one of the nice things about PHP, it will let you do date math like this, plus 2 weeks, instead of having to add 14 days or figuring out how many seconds there are in 2 weeks, or all this other crazy stuff that you have to do depending on what you're doing. So that's why it makes it that's why I used PHP, just because it made it simple for this math. And then I'm just saying, if current date is bigger than the next date, which means if today is a higher date than the next show date, then we're good. If not, figure it out and go. That's all that does. So there's very little difference here. This down here is just commented out, so that if I do something stupid onto one of theirs, that I mess it up. I have a copy of it down here. This is all, excuse me, commented out. That's why it's all green. But anyway, that's the live list page. It's basically just a bunch of repetitious stuff. So, difficulty with dates, Y2K especially. I worked in a data center during Y2K. We spent many hours preparing for Y2K, many hours. And needless to say, everybody was on call that day. So, excuse me. Anyway, that's basically how a website works.
Should I say, can I alter your script if I copied it, Ralph?
Yes, you can, because I copied it from somebody. You will see very few programmers who actually write their own code these days. It's like, get online and search for what you're trying to do, and then copy code snippets and do that stuff.
You know, I went to school for programming. I didn't like sitting in front of a computer writing all this and getting all kinds of errors and stuff like that. So I changed majors.
Yeah, programming is a lot easier than it is now. So because a lot of times when programming first started and stuff, you were literally working with a text editor, nothing like this program I'm using now that helps you out and does all this stuff. So it was literally code, test, look at the console, see what errors it was spitting out. It was very time consuming and very, very, very tedious. Now we have programs like this. So let's say if I go remove this ending, this is called an end tag right here. You know, see how I got an error down there at the bottom? It's actually telling me that the element start tag is missing. And it actually out here tells me what line number it's in. I don't have the line numbers on this, but it's telling me where the error is. I can actually click on it. It'll take me to it. So now if I go fix it in a couple seconds, that will go away. So the programming is a lot easier these days.
Shirley says, I remember altering scripts back during the MySpace days.
Yep. A lot of stuff runs on scripts.
Hoorah, Jerry. I call South Texas home. Thanks for coming in.
Scripts are nothing but a bunch of commands to send to the computer, depending on what you're trying to tell it to do. DaVinci Resolve uses scripts. You can use scripts in OBS. That's how you create the best timers that you see created in OBS and DaVinci, especially DaVinci, are created with scripts. Because especially in DaVinci, because it's not depending on frames, it's actually depending on time. And there's actually a formula that you can use that it converts frames to time, so that there's no jumping. You'll see timers that at one point it'll look like it's not a perfect second between the counting, and it's like, what was that? And it's because they're, excuse me, having it count by frames instead of counting using a formula. And there is a a video on my channel about creating timers doing that. So. But you can also create timers in OBS to do different things with a script. They use Lua scripting, Lua. So there's JavaScript, there's PHP scripts, there's Lua scripts, there's all kinds of scripts. Anyway, that's how a website looks and basically is created. Now that everybody's brain is smoking.
Now that everybody's brain smoking, anybody got a question?
Yeah.
Or you want Ralph to go on?
Yeah, you want me to get really deep? We won't do that because I'll just confuse myself at this point in time. And that's basically how a web page gets created, the code behind a web page. I hadn't intended on going there tonight, but like I said, you guys got to put up with what I give you if you don't ask questions.
Shirley said, "What are you smoking,
I
Ralph?"
saw that. This is what I used to deal with at work every day. So that's why it's normal for me. When you've done something as long as I have, it just kind of becomes second nature. I had a nickname at work. My nickname at work was Web-O-Matic because it kind of, I used to enjoy the comic Gallagher, and if anybody knows anything about Gallagher, his thing was Sledge-O-Matic, smash the pumpkins, whatever else he could put up there. If nobody knows about Gallagher, there's a good YouTube search for you. But it got to a point at work where it's like, if anybody asked a question, I would just know the answer, just because I've been around it for so long. And one of the newer guys that started there just started calling me Web-O-Matic because he liked Gallagher too, and we both watched it. So he's like, just ask Web. He's automatically got an answer, and then that was it. Web-O-Matic was it. So I've had a couple other nicknames during my.
Oh, I've had a lot of nicknames, but not all of them nice.
Well, having the last name of Webb, you always end up with Spider. But I thought the best one and the most unique one, and it caught me totally off guard when I was in junior high school. We had moved from Georgia to Pennsylvania. We were actually in Delaware at this time. One of the guys called me Cobb, and I was like, what? It just didn't dawn on me, Cobweb. And I was like, okay, that's it. I can deal with that. Because I was thinking, I don't know, I guess I was hungry. I was thinking corn on the cob. And I was like, where do you get that from? And I was like, okay. And then he was like, Cobweb. I'm like, okay, good. That'll work. I don't care. You know, my nicknames never bothered me. So like I said, having the last name of Webb, you always end up with Spider. So, but hey. Now, I've been called a bunch of things, but nicknames, I've never had any really bad ones. Now, and guys, that's why I say it's so hard for me to figure out what you guys would like to see, because what I was just doing for someone like me, that's really kind of not that deep, okay? And it's just that this is what I've done for over 40 years of my life, was playing with computers and programming and coding and hardware and stuff like that. So this is like second nature to me. It's like somebody who plays sports at a high level. You do things without thinking about it. When I played soccer, I didn't think about how I kicked a ball. It was like walking, talking, and breathing to me, you know. That's the way this stuff is to me. So like most of you guys do farming and stuff like that. If you put me on a farm, I'm lost. I can't learn it, but
Shirley
I
says
haven't.
she's good at breaking a computer.
I know a lot of people that are good at breaking computers. You don't even have to do much to break a computer. You can just let Windows take care of that sometimes. But speaking of breaking computers, I've got to reload Windows on mine, and I do this usually I do it about every year. I've been bad this time around that it's been about 2 or 3 years since I've done it. I play around and download and test so much software that I tend to kludge my system up after a while. And it's been doing some little funky things here. So it's probably getting to be about that time. But I I have a routine that I go through whenever I do that I go through and download all the newest, the latest drivers and, software that I use all the time. I use all kinds of little utility pieces of software and stuff to help me do stuff. So it's make sure I have almost am I a hacker? Nope. I've never been a hacker. I've never messed with trying to break into people's stuff. I have no use for hackers. I just to me, anybody that has that much talent and ability that uses it for bad purposes, I have no use for these people whatsoever.
Simon says, Ralph, just don't try to milk a bull on that farm.
I know that much.
Hey, Rob, Mark, thanks for coming in.
My mother was raised on a farm in Tennessee, so I'm not complete. And we always had huge gardens, but she always took care of the garden itself as far as weeding it and stuff. It was my dad and I's job to keep it rototilled twice a year and, do that kind of stuff. But she was the gardener. She could take a dead stick and plant it and it would grow. She had 10 green thumbs. She could grow anything. She was quite an amazing gardener. So it's not that Jerry. I don't know anything about it. It's just that I don't.
Jerry, me and Ralph was talking about it. Jerry, Ralph's going to be a no call, no show.
Not happening. Jerry, I don't care if you make it or not. I'm going for barbecues. No, I have eaten. I've eaten at this place before, so I know it's good. And it's funny because this year I'm probably not going to make it, but usually I make it up to Pigeon Forge at least once a year. On some expenses this year, I'm having to replace my garage door, and then I haven't really told anybody. Actually, I don't think I've told anybody this. My son's wife, my daughter-in-law, her mother died a week and a half ago, so kind of been a bummer around here a little bit. But between the garage door and helping them out with some funeral expenses, I don't have any extra money, so I'm probably not going to head up to Pigeon Forge. But anyway, where I was headed with that was it's funny because I actually go through on my way to Pigeon Forge. I go through Talking Rock, which is where we're going to meet up tomorrow every year. So I know I don't even have to put it in my GPS. I know exactly where I'm going. Oh, I was gonna.
Shirley, how's the job going? I haven't opened it yet, Jerry.
I was going to show you the pens that he sent me. Hang on, let me go upstairs and get Isla's.
All right, while you're doing that, Jerry, you want me to open it? No, you want me to open it, Jerry? Do you want me to open it, Jerry? Okay, he said sure. Okay, guys. I won this. I got lucky enough to win this on Butler Family Farms is live. And this is what Well, that's good, Shirley. I mean, I wished every day was a good day, but you know, I try to stay positive, you know. I am in chat, the trucker Jay. I dare you. Delivery there. What are you dare? What are you daring? Oh. Hold on 1 second. I'm opening this from that I won on Jerry's live. Oh, there's something else in there. It's a letter. All right. And okay. Got another envelope.
Excuse me.
And there we go.
All right.
One of those cheese boards. How you say it? Charcuterie? Charcuterie? I don't.
Close enough.
That is awesome. All right, let me put that over there and bigify you.
Okay. I got 2 pins that Gary made, but they're from Devil Dog, actually. One is like that. It's just plain dark blue. Really nice. This is mine. And this is Isla. I don't know if this is going to show up real well or not. Not really. It's red, but it's got kind of like a pearl in it. So we have a blue and a red.
Hey, it looks like Popo, Gary.
And I like them. And my wife collects pens, so we have tons and tons and tons of pens of all kinds. And I just noticed that hers is a little bit different. Hers is silver. The metal on hers is silver. And the metal on mine is gold.
Hey, look at
just noticed it.
Turn yours around a little bit too. Yeah, look at the clips too.
Yeah, yep, they're different too. That's what I said when they came in. I saw it. She goes, "The red one's mine," and it was like, boom, gone. Poof. Like, let me see it.
Well, you know, you're Air Force, you know, so
Yep.
Blue Air Force. So, see, I'm even wearing the shirt for you tonight, there, Ralph.
There you go. That works. That works.
I'll let Jamie know, Shirley. I don't know how you haven't got that already. Hey, Chris, thanks for coming in. Square County Homestead.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I can get a picture of the red one that shows the what I would call pearl type swirls in it. If I can get a good one, I'll put it up on my community page.
Jerry said he'll have 97 more with him tomorrow. He's been busy working on them dang pens.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Ralph, I knew that you. I knew that
my checkbook at home.
You know, I knew that Isla collected pens and everything else from talking to you, and so that was my way. One of my ways of saying thanks, you know, for all you do for the community and me and everything else.
No, I like them. Thank you very much. Like I said, pens. There's just like mugs, you know, like coffee mugs, glasses. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Where's the other one? 5, 6 that I can see. And that's just down here. So yeah, we collect pens. We used to collect keychains. Isla's uncle in Turkey had a bar made in his house, custom made bar that he put a glass top on. He's been collecting keychains pretty much his whole life. He had 1,500 keychains laid in the top of this bar and then put a piece of glass over it. So you go over to his house and you eat dinner, and then you go over and sit at the bar and drink a couple beers, and the whole time you're just sitting there looking down into the bar going, oh, that's a cool one. Oh, that's a neat one. So of course I had to send, some, Air Force, just all kinds of stuff. So
Trucker Jay said, I am impressed that Ralph would rather talk to us than turn around and be at the beach.
yeah, I can make that anything I want. I can make that winter scenes. I can make it cars. I can make it whatever. And Eddie, did you notice I got the chat going across the top?
Yes, I seen that.
Up and down.
Yep, I seen that.
It's just a little different. I can also do, where is it? Got too many windows open here. I can also, if I highlight one, if I highlight it in the right place, it comes up over there like that. And these I have time to go off after 10 seconds. I didn't click on that. It went off by itself.
Oh, cool.
That's one of the things you can do. So that one, the standard one on this is orange and black, and it's square. So I went in and again, in the CSS and OBS, that's what that block is down there. Sometimes you see a block on OBS that says CSS. You can go into that CSS block and change, like put the rounded corners on it and change the colors and all that good stuff. So
Chris said, I had the pleasure to meet Ralph at our Mississippi meetup. Great guy.
yeah, that was fun. That was a fun little meetup. Somebody asked me about the meetup that's in Kentucky later on this year, and it's like, I don't think I've heard of that one, so I had to ask Jesse. It's like, yeah, we don't have a date for that one yet. And I was like, yeah, leave it to me to forget about the one of the few that I have been to. So I went to that one a couple years ago. That one was a lot of fun. And then I just went beginning of March. There's another group of people. They're mainly, I don't know how I got hooked up with these people. They're mainly cruising people that go on cruises and stuff. But there's a couple people that I know. Darian with Magnificent Germany.
Yep.
He does a meetup in Helen, Georgia, which is like an hour up the road. Talking Rock is an hour that way, and Helen is an hour that way. So these two places are like an hour away. He does a meetup up there every March, and Helen is it's modeled after a Bavarian village, so everything's architecturally after that. So I went up to that. I actually stayed up there for a couple of days just because it's real nice to drive around up there. It's up in the mountains, up in the North Georgia mountains. So I went up to that and said hi to everybody.
How far is Bulgaria from Germany? Or is it Germany?
It's an area within Germany.
Okay. P Digits wants to know, Ralph, what's your favorite barbecue meat?
My favorite barbecue meat is actually chicken. It's hard to say that for me with food and a favorite, it's kind of hard to say because I like all kinds of foods. Certain things I don't like I cannot eat hot food, hot peppers and stuff like that. Can't do it. It just, I don't care for the heat, and it just rips my stomach apart. It's like coffee. I can drink 2 cups of coffee in the morning and that's it. Beyond that, I'm in the bathroom the whole rest of the day. Not that I have a weak stomach, it's just like really acidy foods. But I guess because my parents, neither my mother or my father cared for hot foods, So again, I never grew up eating them, just like fish. I never grew up eating fish. So I don't really have a taste for fish, which drives my wife nuts
Yeah, I love
because
fish.
she's from Turkey and it's like they're surrounded by the ocean on all, by the sea
Same
on
thing.
all sides.
Yeah, same
So-
thing with Shirley
Yeah.
and Rhoda.
Yeah. But I've lived in a bunch of different places and I've always had one rule about food is you've got to tell me what I'm tasting, what I'm putting in my mouth. Certain anatomy parts don't go in my mouth. I mean, it was funny last night on Dez's Live when you guys were talking about all the crazy food and stuff. I was like, if I start, I'm going to make her throw up. So I just passed. I've had some really crazy stuff, but I've always had that thing. Just got to tell me what I'm eating. Certain things. I have some weird allergic things with food. Eggplant. I love the way eggplant tastes. I can't eat it. It makes me throw up. I don't know what's in it. I was
I don't
eating.
think I've ever eaten eggplant.
It's good. I like the way it tastes.
How they cook it?
Oh, there's a bunch of different ways to cook it. It's used a lot in Turkish cooking. And we there's another story about eating at her. We used to go over to her uncle's house every Sunday night for dinner, big, table, get everybody together, eat typical Turkish table, all the women down at one end, all the men up at the other. That's just the way it happens, just because all the women sit down there and gossip and we talk about sports and all that stuff. Nothing cultural, just the way that table worked. But we were eating what's called, go ahead.
Real quick, remember your story though, okay?
Okay.
Before it goes off screen, Jerry said, Ralph, you don't have to buy, but you can look if you like. P Digit says, I get it. Mushrooms is food, and mushrooms and food is a 24-hour after effect.
Yeah.
And Shirley says, how do software updates affect device performance?
Okay, sure. Let me answer that. Let me finish my story here real quick. This is a short one. What was I talking about? Things that I'm allergic to, eggplant. So we go there one night, we're eating dinner, and I'm like, oh, what is this? This is really good. Oh, it's patlıcan salad. And at that point, I didn't know what patlıcan meant. So it's like, okay, what is this? I don't know. Get the dictionary out. Eggplant. I'm like, no. I can't eat this. Luckily, I hadn't had enough that it really got me the next day. But I was like, and I'm trying to explain to them, well, I can't. And I'm like eating it, It's like, oh, this is really good. And I'm like, all of a sudden stopping. No, I can't eat this anymore. So, yeah. I was like, but anyway, their eggplant salad it's like grilled eggplant and tomatoes and onions and garlic, and it's all mashed up together. Tastes really good. It's like, don't know if I'm going to get sick, but I'm not going to push it. Anyway, enough of that. Back to Shirley's question. How do software updates affect device performance? Okay. Software, there's different types of software updates. There's software updates like Windows updates. That's usually software updates. Then you have device drivers updates. Again, it's all software. Device driver is just software that runs a piece of hardware. Like your video card has specific drivers that it uses. If something happens either during the download or the install of those drivers, your device usually won't work correctly. Usually the way to get rid of that, if it's a device driver problem, is to uninstall what you just did and then reinstall it. Doesn't always work, but those are usually like the first troubleshooting things. Windows updates. If something happens during Windows updates, hopefully doesn't always work. I personally have never had much luck with it myself, but Windows does take restore points. Also, it will do startup repair. Again, something I've never really had much problem or much success with having it work, but I have had it work. It depends on what gets messed up. like I said, I run my systems. I install all kinds of software, hardware, all kinds of crazy stuff. After a while, I can tell. Like now, I haven't reloaded Windows on my system in good 2.5 years now, and I can tell that things are starting to act a little funny. But that's basically a device driver is software that runs hardware. Windows updates are bug fixes, update. You know, an update can be a fix, it can be an update, it can be a new feature. So it's kind of hard, especially with Windows updates, because they put all of these updates in a big giant package and then send it all out at one time. So sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out exactly what's wrong. That's basically how software updates and driver updates can mess with your hardware. Because again, a device driver is a piece of software that is used to run a piece of hardware. That's what device drivers are. And pretty much everything, all the stuff on your motherboard, the chipset that runs your whole PC has device drivers and all that kind of stuff. But it's always a good idea to try to keep your system updated. I know it can take some effort, but it's worth it. It really is. I keep mine. As soon as stuff comes out, I update my device drivers and everything else, especially your graphics drivers.
Okay, P Digit says, Ralph, are our devices always listening to us? If so, can I stop it? There's a couple more too.
Okay. As far as things listening to you, things like Alexa, stuff like that. Yeah, that stuff's always listening to you. The other stuff, it just depends on what it is. And
Is there a way he can stop it?
turn off your microphone. Seriously. I know people who physically disconnect their microphones when they're not using them. Same thing with your webcam. I know people that are that paranoid that if they're not using it, they physically disconnect it.
Jonesy said, yes, I've used Restore Points in the past and saved the radio station software. Philip Peterson Farms in Nashville said, what would you recommend as an antivirus program?
For Windows, I would use Windows Defender that comes with Windows and it's free. That's what I'm using right now. I used to use Norton. And guys, any brand name that I talk about when we're on here, I have no endorsements from anybody. I don't get paid to talk about any piece of software. If I talk about a piece of software that I like, it's because I've used it and I like it. If I talk about a piece of software I don't like, I'll tell you I don't like it and I will leave it at that. I'm not going to bash anybody. Okay. There was a time pretty much when you really needed to have a separate antivirus program, but not anymore. And a lot of the things like Norton and a lot of these things have become so complicated, they really end up, while they protect you, they almost protect you too much, and they can and will slow your system down. If whatever antivirus program is doing more than just antivirus and watching the internet and watching all this other stuff that most of these things do now, there's overhead that is required to do that. So if you have, I will say, a weaker system or you're low on memory or whatever, you can actually slow your system down by running all these background processes, malware, monitoring your web, presence and all this other stuff. But I like I said, I use Windows Defender. I have had no problems with it. I am behind a router that has, your basic NAT firewall built into it. It's nothing spectacular. It's an Acer router, or not an Acer router. It's an Asus router, and that's behind the AT&T router. I'm on AT&T fiber, so I am relatively protected. And let me say this about security, and this goes for both Macs and Windows. Your PC is just like your car. If a car thief wants your car bad enough and he's professional enough, kiss your car goodbye. Your PC is the same way. As long as you take reasonable precautions, and most of these days, your internet service provider is providing you usually with some sort of software, antivirus software, if you want to run it. Most of their precautions. But if somebody wants to mess with you bad enough, there's nothing that you can do that will stop them from getting into your computer. It's that simple. Again, back to the hacker. If I am mad enough at you that I want to break into your computer and steal your information, if I either have the ability myself or I have enough money to pay somebody, your information's mine. It's that simple. Again, that's an extreme case. Most everybody sitting out here doing stuff, what we're doing right now, emails, talking back and forth, you're fine.
Shirley says,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay. No, go ahead.
Shirley said, I locked myself out of my Acer's Wi-Fi connection and I can't connect to the internet anymore. I rebooted it back to factory settings and it's still the same. And then later on, she says, told you I was good at breaking computers.
Are you sure? Back to basic troubleshooting. Are you sure your Wi-Fi is turned on? First two steps of troubleshooting. Is it turned on? Literally, that's the first. Is it turned on? No, the first step is it plugged in? The second step, is it turned on?
P Digit says, Ralph, do you think we're relying too much on software? And then Phil Peterson, Firms in Nashville, said, Windows Defender, thanks.
Yep, like I said, you can run a separate antivirus, but and you can find a lot of people on YouTube that are high tech people who will say pretty much the same thing. Again, if you want to run one and if that makes you feel more secure, knock yourself out. It's just not really necessary. The ones you got to what you got to watch out for are some of the free ones. There are some good free ones. There were some good free ones that have gotten to be really crappy because they've started adding on all this bloatware and all this other stuff to it. So also, I'll make one more thing on that. Be careful if you download a free one, or actually any of them, because some of the others have done it too. Be careful about add-on software. Okay, one of the free ones used to install one of the extra browsers. There's a little check mark on one of the screens, like four deep into your install process. You know, the 4 screens that everybody just clicks next on. Well, on one of those screens, there was a checkbox that says, do you want to also install blah, whatever it was? I can't remember what it was. So pay attention to those screens. Look for things that are turned on that are going to install extra stuff.
Shirley says, yes, it is turned on. Her Wi-Fi is turned on.
I don't know right off the top of my head.
Simon says, yeah, I have a perfectly operational laptop that can't connect to my Wi-Fi. And then Alfonso said, hello from Colorado. Is anyone familiar with Windows 10 Ghost Spectre? It's basically a de-bloated version of Windows.
Yeah, I've heard it. There's the same thing there's a Windows 11. I think it's called Windows 11 Tiny. But yeah, I've heard of it. That would be a yes.
Simon
That's a
says,
bad password.
Simon says it don't even see my Wi-Fi.
Again, make sure it's turned on, and you know your Wi-Fi is depending on, usually on a laptop, it's like a little plug-in card, little square card that you can actually replace. Could be bad. It's very difficult to troubleshoot things that I can't touch and see.
Simon says, I'm no dummy.
Well, it's funny that somebody would say that, because usually when I start, if I'm doing like an online session with somebody, the first thing I will ask them is how familiar they are with computers, because I don't want to talk down to somebody and I don't want to talk over somebody's head. That doesn't do the person I'm talking to any good, and it doesn't help me to help them. You know, if I'm talking to somebody who's been around computers as long as I have, you're going to get a completely different conversation than if I talk to somebody who is just playing with their first computer. Because for me to talk to the guy that's been doing it as long I have, like a newbie, he's going to turn me off and have 3/4 of what I say is not going to mean a word to him. Same thing the other direction. If I'm talking so far above what you can understand, that doesn't do you or me any good. So yeah, when I train people, when I talk to people, when I work with people one-on-one, that's usually the first thing I try to ascertain is, do they know anything about computers? Are they halfway literate? Or are you a complete noob? And I don't mean that in a bad way. Believe me, I wasn't born with all of this knowledge that I have. Genius, but I had to pick it up somewhere. That's funny. FBI, man. Yeah, if you want, there's a lot of YouTube videos about people who have named their Wi-Fi interesting things to let their neighbors know that they're using their Wi-Fi.
BJ just said, Ralph, would you recommend using your own modem or renting one from your internet provider?
I personally prefer having my own. Like right now I have the AT&T, it's actually a router and a modem, but I have it set in pass-through mode so that it's just passing the signal through to my router. I don't rent the AT&T one. If I was paying to rent the router, I would buy my own. But again, if you want to go that route, you need to check with your service provider, because they may have certain requirements if you want to get your own router. They shouldn't give you any problem about it. I've never had a problem. Before I went with AT&T, I was with Spectrum, and the only reason I switched was for speeds. And I was on Spectrum cable modem, and I did not use their modem. I used mine. I had a modem and a router because I didn't want to pay them whatever it was for the rent. So I actually bought a modem, and then of course I've always had a router because I have a billion things connected in this house. So
Okay.
I've always needed a router for the extra connections.
Simon says, all my devices that can connect to my Wi-Fi are working just fine, including my MacBook. Just the laptop can't see it. And Shirley said, same here, Simon. It shows that the Wi-Fi is available, but it just won't connect. Is it possible that their Wi-Fi in their laptop or computer or whatever went bad?
That's possible. And what I would think of it's weird. The only other thing I can think of right off the top of my head is there's usually two bands. There's a 2.4 gigahertz band and a 5 gigahertz band. But the 2.4 existed before the 5 did. So most things will automatically connect. Like if it's a 5 gigahertz connection, it'll automatically connect to the 2.4 sometimes, not always. But you would think that, I can't believe that your modem would not be putting out both signals. That's where I'm trying to get. That it may be only putting out like a 5 gigahertz signal and not the 2.4. I can't believe that would be the situation, because that would not be a normal thing. You would think anything would be putting out the 2.4, not the 5. Because a lot of your, again, laptops are not normally this way. Yeah, exactly. Most people can, if you have both, and most newer things have both. The 2.4 is kind of it's an older technology, but a lot of your like smart devices, like if you have a Ring doorbell, if you have a doorbell camera, like a Ring doorbell camera or something like that, a lot of those only work on the 2.4 gigahertz. So that's why I'm saying it's kind of, it may have something to do with the bands, but I can't believe it would.
Shirley says her Acer laptop is from 2013. Does she need to upgrade?
It's probably showing its age.
He's talking about your laptop, Shirley, not you.
Yep. I said it, not she. Shirley's not an it. Her laptop is.
I guess talk to a criminal, P Digits.
First off, you wouldn't ask me because I'll turn you in.
Shirley said, LOL, I'd be old too. No, I am not even highlighting that comment, Trucker J.
No. Like I said, I don't get into the argument between Apple and...
He's just messing with me, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something I refuse to get into. And I'll just say that Apples are better at certain things. Windows PCs are better at certain things.
Yeah, see, he said, what say you, Eddie? Yeah, Trucker J was just messing with me.
So.
Surely.
Tell you what, I worked with some very, very, very intelligent females.
Jonesy wants to know, hey, Ralph, what would be the specs for a second-hand computer for video editing?
First question is, how much do you want to spend? And everybody's answer is as little as possible. I know. Literally, specs comes second to budget. Because again, this is why I like to liken this to a car. When you buy a car, you go into the dealer and I've got 20,000 to spend on a car. By the time you get out, you've spent 30 because he's added all these options. Oh, well, you need this and you need that and blah, blah, blah. Computers are the same way. You can set a budget, and then by the time you get out of the door, it's like you've spent 10 times as much. But for video editing, you need a decent amount of memory. 16, 32 gig, doesn't matter whether it's DDR4, the newer DDR5. The more memory, the better for video editing. CPU, probably 8 core, 6 core. So it would be 6 core, 12 thread. I wouldn't do 4 core. I would do at least a 6 core.
Big hard drive.
Yeah, storage.
You're not going to delete them.
Yeah. Video card, that's probably where you're going to drop some money, because most higher end video cards now have tons and tons of video memory on them. If I was going to do video editing, I would get a card with at least 8 gig of memory on it, which is easy to do. And there are cards out there, I would say between the $200 and $300 mark. Probably I would do an NVIDIA card right now, just because there's some extras that you get with those that you don't get with an AMD card. Not that AMD cards are bad. Eddie has an AMD card in his, and he edits just fine. So, and I think his card is right around that $200 mark now. So if I was building a budget PC, we're kind of starting to run out of time here. If I was building a budget,
see, the thing is now they come out with all the questions at the end.
Yeah. If I was building a budget PC with new parts myself, I would probably go with an Intel processor with integrated graphics, probably like a 12400 or 12600. That's like 2 generations behind. So those are pretty good prices. A motherboard that will support that. Again, you can, if you're not attaching 5 billion pieces of things to it, like a lot of USB devices and stuff like that, you don't have to get a top of the end motherboard. So that's probably going to be your those two processors are right around the $150 mark right now. The last time I looked anyway, which was a couple months ago. And again, these prices fluctuate like crazy. They're like commodities. Say 16 gig just say 16 gig of RAM is going to run you somewhere between 100 $150. Now these are ballpark figures and I'm just spitting these off the top of my head. So motherboard is going to cost you about 100 125. Video card, you could probably do, I think Eddie has the XT6600. That's an AMD card, but it's, like I said, it's an 8 gig card and he doesn't have any problem editing. Those cards are right around the $200 mark. If I was doing it, I would spend a little bit of extra money and go with an NVIDIA 3060, not the new one, the older one that has the 10 gig or 8 gig, whatever it is. The new 3060 that just came out is a chopped down version. It's only got 6 gig of memory in it. So, and storage for video editing, storage is huge. Now, when I build a computer, I always install two hard drives. First one is my C drive, and that's my OS drive and my programs, like where I installed DaVinci itself. Not all my videos, not all that stuff, where the program itself resides. That I do NVMe drive. That's the fastest drive you can get now, and it will help your loading. The C drive does not get games. The C drive does not get what I call data. Okay. So like your Excel files, your video files, all that stuff goes on a secondary drive, a D drive that is large. Your C drive, you can get away with a C drive, 500 gig C drive, fine. Terabyte, I do terabyte because that's the sweet price point right now where you get the most megabytes for your dollar. 500, I've made as small as 120 gig boot drives. So 500 gig boot drive, program drive, and then I usually do a 2 terabyte, not a spinning drive, either an SSD or another NVMe drive, just for speed. 2 terabyte there. You can get, if you don't go top of the line Samsung, if you go second tier, you can probably get both of those for $150. Prices are pretty good right now. Then you got to get a power supply. Usually anything on a PC like this, somewhere between 650, 700 and 850 watts will do you. That system right there will set you back somewhere between $700 and $800 with the 6600. If you drop a 3060 in there, you're going to end up about 900. If you drop an 8 gig 3050 in there to get on the NVIDIA platform, probably looking right around 800. But those are for all brand new parts. That includes a case, power supply, Windows. You can get cheap Windows license keys now for 20, 25, 30 bucks. And they're fine. I use one of them. I don't use a retail version of Windows.
Guys, I appreciate y'all coming in first Saturday of the month. Next
There goes your
Saturday.
voice.
Wow.
All right, guys, I appreciate y'all coming in. First Saturday of the month, we'll do Tech Talk. So from now until next month, think of any technical questions you have and come in and ask me and Ralph. I would like to thank everybody for coming in tonight. We have Jerry Butler Family Farms, Drunken Chef Barbecue, AS Blind Maid Productions, Alfonso, Nancy Our Church at Home, Peaceful Des, Radio Jonesy on Tour, P Digits, and everybody else that came in. Thank you. Please go to Gary's Live starting now.
I drop Andy. Oh, man. Every time I.
Yep. I lost you again.
Yeah, every time I do the click, it freaking changes on voice mod. Anyways, there's the link to go see Gary, and we'll see you next week, 7 o'clock. Peterson, Phil, thank y'all for coming in. Have y'all's questions for next month. We'll see you 7 o'clock Central Time next week for Day with the Dog. Semper Fi, and Ralph, we ain't got the outro up here. I don't know why. We made an outro and ain't got it up there. Anyways,
Why did you put it up there? I sent it to you. Why did you put it up there?
you could have put it up there. You have access to it. Anyways, guys, thanks for coming in. Go over to Belt Loop 29. Next week, we'll have the outro ready for you. Semper Fi, Devil Dog out, and Ralph.
Everyone have a good one. See ya.